Discover the worlds you want to live in. Isekai, world building at its most enthusiastic.
Hello and welcome. I'm Bitsy Tandem, the host of Isekai Interviews, and today we are welcoming Juice Lee. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Juice Lee. I am a writer, rapper, just a crazy fanatic about martial arts and stuff regarding that. So I'm a kind of a nutball in that case. But I love creating. I love just telling stories with interesting characters, and I don't know, just being experiencing new worlds and stuff. So that whole thing.
Awesome. And what is your personal experience with anime and manga and maybe the isekai genre?
Okay, so obviously, like the first isekai that I got into was probably Sword Art Online, and that was like kind of we got like me and my girlfriend, we got like addicted to it until they got to season, I think it's season 4, or it's either season 4 or season 3, when they started doing the shooter, the like first person shooter, like we were like pretty much like on that show. Also, No Game No Life is that was another one. You know what I mean? So that was those are pretty awesome stories. So but yeah, like Sword Art Online was the first one. I was just like, hey, this is what's up. What I guess I've been watching now, when I get a chance to watch it, is that time I got reincarnated as a slime. So
nice.
yeah, so that's a really good show. So I really enjoy that. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about your world and your comic Skrap.
Okay, so I guess the biggest thing. Let me turn off the notifications on this because I keep getting notifications and it's kind of weird. But the thing is with the world of Skrap, well, it's kind of weird because I have to start from the beginning on this. So first of all, like in creating Skrap, I never intended to initially create Skrap. So it was like I was actually working on a completely different story that was set in the same universe, and the main character of Skrap, she was just a side character in that story. But I ended up getting writer's block, and that particular world was basically going to be kind of like this world of intrigue. I'm a big fan of like Metal Gear Solid and like like the Uncharted series and things like that. So like I wanted to try to like create a story that like encompassed that, but like was centered around this city that was basically like had a bunch of different secrets and stuff like that. But yeah, it was gonna be a thing, but like I ended up getting writer's block on that and started working on Skrap because it was just kind of a side project that kind of like took on a life of its own. But long story short, the world of Skrap, I guess, is it's mostly normal, but like there's another layer of it where some certain things that were considered legends, like martial arts legends, or just like deities and things like that, they're actually real, like different mythical gods and stuff like that. But they're kind of I won't say trapped, but they're like they're locked basically behind another. They're locked behind basically this kind of gate that is pretty much tied to this particular mountain, an actual real mountain. It's a mountain called Kailash, and basically like in Mount Kailash, like what the legends that we actually know in real life, like they say basically in Mount Kailash, that's where like Shiva resides and all the gods reside or whatever. One of the goddess characters that's kind of a central focus to Skrap is tied to like Mount Kailash and that realm and everything like that. Her name is the Marisha 10. And so basically one of the things that that happens is the main character, she kind of goes on this journey after like getting her black belt. She goes on this journey of, you know, finding out, hey, um, it doesn't stop when you get your black belt. It's you know, oh snap, there's way more to not only the martial art my teacher taught, but like also just the world of martial arts and the world of fighting, and you know, there's other elements at play. So excuse me.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of the long and short of how that story works. You know, she there becomes a point later on in the story where some of the things in this other world that the main character Shannon experiences, they start to bleed into like the real world. You know what I mean? And so it becomes a problem because she's not the only person that can access it. You know, there's other people that can do it by other means, and there are some things that like are there are some people that basically there are other people that can access it by other means, but there are also other people that don't want people to access it by other means. So it's like there's this kind of push and pull that's going on, you know, and this is in the midst of a lot of, you know, crazy fights that are happening, like not only in the MMA arena, but also like, you know, behind the scenes and in other places. So yeah.
Okay. And throughout the journey of the story, do they actually like go to these mythical
Yes.
locations? So
Yes.
they little
Yeah, like that happens actually in the fourth issue that's out right now. You know, Shannon's teacher, you know, basically there's this thing called the formless state, and it basically is kind of a conduit where the Marishi Ten in my story is like basically the goddess of combat. So like every martial art that has ever existed in human history, she knows inside and out. So you know, and that includes also weapons. You know, like all sorts of weapons, melee weapons, all that stuff like that. But basically, you know, there's a ceremony, and you go through what's called the trial of the Marishi Ten. Hey, Keely. But there's a ceremony that is called the trial of the Marishi Ten that only certain people can go through. When they go through it, the trial is different for everyone, you know. So basically her teacher, he went through it, and he goes into this other world, and he is just mobbed by a horde of, you know, all of these soldiers, you know. And the thing about it is all of these soldiers that he's fighting are people who over the like last millennia have failed the trial of the Marishi Ten. You know what I mean? So basically all of these people that he's fighting, he's trying to get to the goddess and like try to like, you know, figure out what's going on, because his teacher had this power, and it was immense, but it takes a lot out of you. But he went through and fought, and you know, he almost didn't succeed. The point of the trial of the Marishi Ten is to push you to break, you know. So and it's to basically fight where you're fighting purely on instinct, and like you're fighting purely on like, you know, just this will of survive, and you're not thinking, you're not conscious, you're not like anything. So that's the point of it, to take you to that level. So his trial, and they go through this in issue 3. His trial was, you know, he fought all of these guys, and he basically ended up getting killed. You know what I mean? Like over there, because if you die over there, I mean, it's kind of one of those things, you kind of die in real life. But he ended up like almost, well, not getting killed, but he almost got killed. But like that's how he unlocked this power. Whereas when Shannon goes over there in issue 4, what happens is Shannon like doesn't see anything over there. So she's like, you know, she's expecting to fight some soldiers. She's expecting to like, you know, do things where like she's gonna fight alongside a goddess or whatever, and like none of that happens. Like the goddess just straight fights her. You know what I mean? And like when she fights her, you know, basically she's just like, yo, I do intend to kill you, you know. So you need to really do this. You need to really fight me. You know what I mean? You're not going to leave here. And so they end up fighting. And when they end up fighting, again, this is all in issue 4, but when they end up fighting, basically Shannon loses, but she's able to escape. And so, pretty much for the next few issues that are coming up, we start to see like little teases, little ideas of the Marishi 10, like basically, trying to pull her back over into this world because, or pull her back over into her world because Marishi 10 really has a goal of her own of wanting to get back to our world. You know what I mean? And she can only do that by like, someone like Shannon, like by like pretty much kind of taking her body, taking her, abilities and things like that. So it's this real interesting thing. It's not really even spoilers, Keely, but like this is all stuff that we kind of explore a little bit, but like because there's a whole lot of a deeper realm to it. But and this is all happening in the midst of Shannon basically like starting an MMA career and she ends up going to Japan. She ends up going to Japan and fighting in like, some tournaments in Japan. And like, they have like kind of a different set of rules over there as far as, MMA goes and things like that. So there's a lot of different twists and turns as she tries to chase this ability, this formless state ability, because that's kind of her ultimate goal of figuring out like, hey, what is my purpose here? What am I going to do, with this, now I have a black belt, but there's so much more to learn. And then on top of that, just the people that she meets along the way, they give her advice and they teach her different things and things like that. So it's really that classic kind of hero's journey of kind of figuring things out. So yeah, that's kind of that.
Awesome. And for the trials, did you have any big inspirations when you worked that into your story?
Yes. Actually, I mean, like, I was a huge fan of Bleach, and so
me too.
So like Bleach, I took a lot of inspiration from when Ichigo like goes to get his Bankai, and like that whole fight where he like he fights Zangetsu and then he fights Hollow Ichigo. Like I took a lot of inspiration from that. Like that was probably like some of my favorite stuff in Bleach. Obviously, Huecomundo and like Aizen and him going through the tower is cool, but like that particular fight, like man, that was like everything for me. Like I watched that like several times, and like I'll even just be brutally honest and say even the world, like the world that the Marishi 10 is in, like is clearly inspired by how like the world where Ichigo fights to get his Bankai, like it's inspired by that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's heavy influences on that. So like I always cite Bleach as like one of the major inspirations for like my my book. There's a lot of other inspirations, but like as far as anime goes, like Bleach was like the top thing because there's so many things that like there's so many emotions that you feel like when not only when he gets his Bankai, like basically like when you meet other characters like Grimjaw, you meet other characters, just them going through the tower, them going through Soul Society to save Rukia, like all those things like were like huge inspirations on me. You know what I'm saying? And so like I was just that's like one of my favorite anime of all time, and I'm so happy it's coming back in October. So yeah, but yeah, that was a big thing for me.
That's one of my like big time goals living here in Japan. It's like I need to go to like Comiket and meet Taikubo. Have to shake his hand or something.
Yeah, that would be so awesome.
Once they come back, when
that would be so awesome. Like I had one of those fangirl nerd moments like when I saw the trailer and like the song hits and like I felt some tears, so it was it was big. You know what I'm saying? That was big for me. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, I'm so happy it's coming back. I'm like, I can't express it enough. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, you don't get a lot of like Bleach cosplay anymore these days, but last convention I
Oh,
was at,
so
I saw some
here's
really awesome. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
here's the funny thing. So I watch a lot of I watch a lot of MMA, and I watch a lot of MMA like all over the world. And there's an organization in Japan called Ryzen, and more recently, I think it was this last Ryzen. There was a guy. He was an American, but like he actually came out in like Ichigo cosplay, like to his fight, and he came out to number one. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
awesome.
what's another thing that's so crazy about that particular fight is he actually like was losing the fight like midway through, and then I forget how he finished the guy, but like it was just the fact that like you came out to number one, you came out with the Bleach cosplay, and like it was just like you ended up like pulling out this win like kind of like in the last second, and it was awesome. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
Meant to
but
be.
yeah, but it's awesome because like excuse me, you know, that's the best thing about Japan, and like that's another reason why my like a good portion of like these upcoming issues, you know, they take place in Japan, because in Japan, like you have the way they do like MMA and like really just any combat sports events over there is they allow like fighters to like, you know, really tailor make their entrances. So, you know, because the way I've heard it is like they basically say that you know, there's no real difference between pro wrestling and like, you know, mixed martial arts over there. So everybody kind of gets the same treatment as far as like intros go. So if you want to have some elaborate type of intro, you know, where you got a costume on and things like that, you know, they're like, well, go for it. You know what I mean? As long as you're not, I think the thing is, I talked to somebody, like one of the representatives of Verizon. They're like, you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you're not throwing things into the crowd. But other than that, like, you know, you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? And it was just like, wow, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Because
That's awesome.
in America, they do not like that. Like, it's a lot of organizations that they might let you come out with like maybe a hat or something, or maybe you let you come to weigh-ins with a costume or something like that. But actually going to the cage or the ring, nah, they're not big on that. Like except for in boxing, like major boxing events, like you can do that. But like other than that, like they do not like that at all. So it's just because you know the way they look at wrestling over here in America versus how they look at combat sports is much different. So, but yeah, that's the thing. But like I really wanted to have like events in Japan just because like there's that pageantry, there's that pomp and circumstance to like people's entrances, and like some of the people that will fight, like sometimes they're massive mismatches, but like, you know, there it's certain types of things that they do over in Japan that are like really cool, and like I'm always like trying to emulate that in some of the fights, especially the fights that are coming up in the series. So yeah, that's kind of the thing.
That's awesome. Have you ever seen Hajime no Ippo?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
one
I've
of my
seen Hajime
favorite.
no Ippo. Like it's funny. Like that is I got I watched a few episodes of it. I like it. The story that actually is you know, that is more inspired by that is the story that is, well, how do I want to say this? Megalobox is the story I'm referring to. Megalobox is more inspired by Hajime no Ippo. They took a lot of things from that, and like they do some callbacks to Hajime no Ippo. But Megalobox is another influence on Skrap, you know. So yeah,
Okay.
and
I haven't heard of that one before, but I'll
yeah,
have to check it
Megalobox.
out.
Yeah, Megalobox is it's pretty good. It's basically about a fighter, a guy who is named Joe. He basically is just because they box with like these type of harnesses, these gear things or whatever. But the thing is, he for the longest time he's been a really good fighter, but he like intentionally throws fights. you know, so he can like make money for like his gym and his coach, and like because they're originally criminals, you know what I'm saying? And then like eventually what happens is something happens where he's just like, you know what, there was this new tournament coming up. He has a run in with this guy, and he's like, you know, I've been like, you know, BSing for this whole time, but I think I can actually win this tournament like legit. You know what I mean? And so that's the first season is him basically kind of like shedding the whole hey, I'm throwing fights thing, and like training legit and like trying to win this like mega tournament, you know. So but yeah, Megalobox is an incredible story, man. Like I love that. And that was another big inspiration. Like I actually commissioned some fan art for my main character Shannon, and like Joe to like, you know, like do like a fist bump or whatever. I always thought that was like, it's really cool because it's kind of in my head, it's kind of a nod. I'm like, I always said if I did like get this big enough to get like an animated series, I would try to figure out a way to like slip his character in like as a quick cameo to, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe you see him in the background or something like that, or he like walks by like our characters or something, you know what I'm saying? Like just to give that nod to be like, hey, you guys, I wanted to make this, you know, kind of like you guys, you know what I mean? So that was the thing.
That's really awesome. Speaking of some of your art, could you tell me a little bit about this piece? I really like this one.
Yeah. So first of all, let me clarify. Like, I'm not the artist. I'm just the writer. So like, there's other artists that like I basically pop information into them and they pull out everything. But I will tell you about this piece. So basically, this is our main character Shannon. You know, the woman in the black sports bra and tights. That's our main character Shannon. This is like kind of like a post workout session. A lot of times with any gym that you go to, any like MMA gym, if you get everybody they get together and they have like a good workout session, everybody kind of gets together, takes a picture, and be like, hey, we had a good session, yada yada yada. So this is kind of like post that. The character next to him or next to Shannon is one of our other main characters. His name is Slash Haverson. And he's actually a guy that you know, he pretty much his initial introduction in the first issue is actually what gets Shannon to like start doing MMA. You know what I mean? So I don't want to give any more of that away, but he's kind of like a de facto trainer, you know, confidant, good friend or whatever. So he's a good guy, but you know, he kind of is Shannon's guide into this world of MMA. The woman with the tattoos, that's Inanna, and Inanna, like Alejandra Chavez. We actually meet her. It'll be at the beginning of issue 6. We just did a Kickstarter for issue 5, but like issue 6, when that comes out, we'll get to finally meet Inanna. And Inanna is she is kind of this wild child. She's been up and down on fights. She's kind of had a little bit of a harder life, but she is she's like really one of these people that like all she needed was like the right people around her and she could go far. For so long, she's like had a lot of people that just like pretty much use her, and you know, like, hey, we just need a warm body to get this other person, you know, some wins or whatever. And like Anana's really talented as far as like a fighter goes, but like nobody's ever put the time into her. You know what I mean? So, you know, she's just her and Shannon, they initially meet because that's Shannon's like first amateur fight. You know what I mean? Some things happen with that particular fight that I don't want to like give away, but she's the first person that Shannon fights like in the cage ever. You know what I mean? And it's really cool. They end up becoming friends after that due to a series of really, really wild events. But yeah, this is them all training together and stuff. So that's kind of that.
It's a really beautiful piece, and I love the tattoos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody, I had no idea like people would like Inanna as much as they do, because I have some other artwork with her, but like people really really like her, and I was surprised, you know what I'm saying? But like I definitely wanted, when I created her, I wanted a character that would kind of be like Shannon's kind of like a Piccolo, you know what I'm saying? Like I kind of
Mm.
wanted her to be like Piccolo to Shannon's Goku, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Where it was like hey, we had our differences in the past, but like we now like train together. She might like Shannon might be better, but like please don't ever sleep on Inanna, because Inanna is really really good, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
and they just kind of build each other up. I think that was one of the biggest things about like doing this book is I wanted to like, my whole point was just trying to create like a shonen anime, but like not really do the whole thing where like I'm hitting some of the tropes, but like not do the whole thing where it's like everything is solely focused on like the main character. It's like I wanted to do something where we see all of these other characters grow. You know what I mean? And like we see that Shannon, like when she's not fighting, she's putting time into to these other characters to make them grow. Because that's something with like, even when you look at like something like, I don't know, Dragon Ball, or even like Bleach, it's like everybody sort of kind of gets stronger, but like you never see like Ichigo be like, hey, let me let me really focus on like you know getting Chad right for this battle. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Let me focus on getting um I'm blanking on dude's name, guy with the arrows. I want to say Ishin, but like it's something else. But
Arrows.
the
Oh.
Quincy, the Quincy.
Quincy guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Shoot,
like
what is
let
his
me,
name?
yeah, I'm blanking on his name right now, but like it's like let me focus on like trying to get his strength up and this and this, because he's got a fight that I can't fight for him. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
like that type of help and that type of camaraderie. I think that's something big within like especially like MMA and like everybody like having these different gyms and stuff like that. That's a really big thing. So I wanted to try to create that, because there are other characters that come along where they aren't fighters at all, and the idea of our main character, who is supposed to be like our strong budding character, going back to like help them and be like, hey, this is your battle, this is how we can help you. I think it shows character to her, but it also shows character like to the other person, and be like, hey, we're all growing together. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so, I think that's a really cool and unique concept. And so, and not everybody wins. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody like wins their fights and things like that. So, but the thing is, the saying is always, you never lose, you learn. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's kind of the thing. But yeah.
So would you say that you work in a lot of slice of life aspects to the
Yes. I actually kind of do like, and I should have added this picture, but I didn't. I don't know why I didn't.
oh,
But there's another picture.
feel
Um,
free to screen share as well.
oh, okay, cool. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, give me a second here. But there's another picture where I have Shannon's best friend from like high school, Zakaya. She is she's like, if Anana is Piccolo to Shannon's Goku, then like Zakaya is basically kin to Shannon's Ryu. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
she's like the direct rival, and she's like, they met in high school, and like they hated each other initially, and then like they became like inseparable best friends, and they pretty much like they will fight tooth and nail to they'll fight tooth and nail for each other, like to the bitter end. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of their biggest thing. And like she's just that, like Zakaya is just that go-to friend that's just, she's everything. You know what I'm saying? And like
Mhm.
apparently Zakaya is like one of the most by and large like the most popular character in Skrap. Like it's crazy.
Really?
Like it was another one. I was like I had no idea, but I'm trying
It's
to pull up a picture here.
sure. It's
Because
so interesting how when we make these characters that people just kind of like attach themselves to some.
oh yeah, it's
I've got
wild.
a
It,
specific character that I made specifically to be disliked, and everybody loves her, and I'm like,
yeah,
why?
yeah. I mean, you know what's funny is like I think Stan Lee said that. You know, but basically he said that pretty much when he created Tony Stark, he tried to make him like the most unlikable person ever, and then apparently everybody liked him, and he didn't understand that. So,
That's
um,
hilarious.
but yeah,
One
that
of
was
my main characters is pretty heavily Tony Stark esque.
yeah, but like yeah, that was kind of the thing. But anyway, this picture here, this is Shannon with her best friend Zakaya, and like so they ended up going to like Shannon ends up getting into some situations, and since she's not really rich, her mother pulled some strings and got her into this really rich private school, and you know Shannon stepped on a few toes, and you know she ended up getting a target on her back. Long story short, this big target attracted Zakaya, who was also like new in the school and trying to make like kind of a name for herself and trying to make like you know some friends or whatever. But like she was like, well, if I do something to embarrass Shannon or I fight Shannon or beat up Shannon, then you know this'll you know that'll get me like popular. That'll get me popular. You know what I'm saying? And so apparently Shannon can fight, Sakai can fight. They both fight equally well, and they realize that they fight too well, and so they were just like, "Why are we even fighting? Like, I really like you, you really like me. Like, we don't like any of these people. So, like, why are we not friends? You know what I'm saying?" And so, like, that's kind of what happens, and they, like I said, they become like pretty much best friends from that point on. You know, so
That's awesome.
but yeah, that's another picture of them together.
I
So
love her finger claws. Those
oh
are
yeah,
so cool.
yeah, she's and like Zakaya comes from like an extremely wealthy family, you know, and so like basically her whole a lot of different things like happen where her family is not her family like they don't really care like about Takaya too much. So they kind of like she's kind of like by herself a lot like because her family's so freaking rich. They're all yeah. Yeah, but like but her family's so freaking rich that they basically were like, "Hey, we want you to go to school in this area. We'll give you this house and you'll live in this house and we'll just jet around the world. We'll check on you every few months to see if you're alive." And that's basically that. You know what I mean? And so, you know, you've got Zakaya living in this big mansion that's, you know, has that's staffed or whatever, and it's just kind of her. And so, you know, it's just kind of one of those weird things where she's just like, this kind of sucks. So when she goes over to Shannon's house and Shannon just kind of lives in this regular house and like she sees like the love that her mom gives her and like, you know, her annoying little brother, and she like Zakai kind of envies that, you know what I'm saying? Because she's an only
Mhm.
child and like she's like, man, like this is really cool. Like, you know what I mean? You got people that actually like care about you. You know what I mean? Like I got like a lot of stuff, but it's just stuff. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
but like, you know, they have their moments, man, and they're just like a really good they're really good like together like as far as like how they interact and like there's some things that I do with them you know like I think in issue 3 like here's another cool picture that's just them kind of hanging out playing games in like Shannon's room but you know there's always these little cool things that they end up getting into some wacky adventures they end up getting into by themselves and you know Zakaya does like this crazy type of kung fu and all this other stuff and so you know that's kind of her deal but
She's a really fun character.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. So and this is actually Shannon's teacher. He is his name is Saker. He's like a Native American guy, and like he has a wealth of adventures by himself, and like a lot of things that he's done like through his life and whatnot. That's how he came across the Formless State and the Marishi 10 and all that stuff like that. But he is that guy's a complete goofball. You know what I mean? Like he's very like chill. Like even though he's like kind of strong and intimidating or whatever, he's a guy that like will sit on YouTube all day and watch cat videos and like just basically do goofy stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, but that's a shot of Marishi 10. But yeah, these are I mean, I run you through a complete slideshow of like all of these characters and all this other stuff. But yeah, these are that's the Megalobox fan art. So yeah. That's Joe from Megalobox, like, basically giving Shannon a shout out. So yeah. But like I said, I love this. I love Megalobox so much. And it was such a huge inspiration when I was writing Skrap that like I wanted to do this. So yeah, that was a big thing for me. But this right here is that's Shannon's little brother. So he's getting back to the original point of me writing Skrap. Me writing Skrap, I was originally trying to tell his story, which is the story called Bite Division, and like it's kind of like this Metal Gear Solid meets Goonies meets Uncharted type thing. But like he was the original story I was trying to tell. I ended up getting writer's block and started writing Skrap. So
this art in particular is really cool. It kind of looks like a side scroller video game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love it. Actually, there's another piece I did, or I didn't do, but like I had commissioned. I want to see if I can find it. It's with Shannon and Zakaya, and like they're fighting or they're like getting ready to fight the girls from River City Girls. I don't know if you ever played that game.
I haven't.
Yeah. So yeah, like River City Girls is that's another. I don't know if did this show up? This doesn't show up. All right, let me do this. Let me share window, share screen, boom. All right, so okay, there we go. But yeah, but like River City Girls is another cool little game that we that I absolutely loved, and like I was just like super inspired by. So like to try to like have the dream match of having these two girls or these four girls fight each other, like just seemed like the coolest thing. Plus, there was a super old game like back in the late 90s called Rival Schools, and like it kind of like evoked some nostalgia for me, like looking at this picture, since because I would imagine that's what the story would be, is they would end up fighting because they were from like two different schools, like from two different cities, and like somehow they ended up getting into a brawl, and it would just be a crazy brawl. But yeah, River City Girls was like a huge that was like a one of my favorite games that's come out in the last like few years, and it's a beat 'em up, you know what I mean? So just imagining them like in the beat 'em up, so that would be cool. That's another image of Shannon and her teacher. So yeah, but
you've got a really wide variety of different art styles. That's a lot of fun to see.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I work with like a bunch of different artists, and like basically working with a bunch of different artists, like they all have their different styles and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see like how like different people interpret these characters. So yeah, but yeah, that's that.
Awesome.
So yeah, let me stop sharing because we'll end up going through my whole like image. So.
It's all good. That is our time for today, though. Is there anything you'd like to say as we wrap it up?
Nah, other than just follow me on the socials at JUI brand on Instagram, and then at Juice Lee on Twitter. Those are the two places I'm pretty active in. So
Okay.
that's basically that. Also, I wanted to say to you, congratulations to your Kickstarter being
Oh,
successful. So
thank you.
I saw that, and I remember I donated and whatnot. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate you. I appreciate you reaching out, but like also just like congratulations as well. So yeah,
Thank you so much. This was my hardest one yet, so it was
yeah. I mean, but
pretty stressful.
it got done. Like this was my
Mhm.
first Kickstarter, and like I
Really?
yeah, and I don't know how I want to do another one again, like because this is basically 2 months of me like not getting sleep, uh,
Yeah.
asking myself every single day, who did I not reach out to? Who did I not send a tweet to?
Mhm.
Who can I say, hey, here's the thing? And I mean, I sent out so many tweets, I sent out so many emails, I sent out so many things like to like try to get people interested and whatnot. Um, and it was just yeah, it was crazy, but
I
thank
couldn't
you,
even
really.
tell it was your first one. It looks your page looks great. You did an amazing job.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was cool. It was just like I said, we just I talked to one of my friends who she's done like several successful Kickstarters, and like I consulted her on like how everything looked. I just know going forward, I'm gonna try to do certain things a little bit better, but
Yeah.
man, that was just like a really stressful 2 months, and like I don't know if I would have it in me to do another campaign that long again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was super stressful. I think the next time I do a campaign, like first I want to get this campaign completed because like we
Mhm.
have the money, but like I still need to ship out everything to everybody. So I want to make sure everybody gets their stuff. And on top of that, since I didn't have stretch goals, I wanted to make sure people got extra stuff so they'd be more inclined to like donate again when I have another
Mhm.
one, like because I'm shooting to hopefully have another one like maybe in October, like late
Oh,
October,
nice.
somewhere around there. But I just want to make sure everybody gets their stuff and like everything's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing because I think if I do that and I get these people like satisfied, then like moving forward, we'll probably have more people that'll be like, hey, let's see what's up. What's
Definitely.
been your experience?
That'll
Because
definitely build up the trust. What were you saying? Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say, what's been your experience as far as like doing like these Kickstarters and stuff like that?
They get easier to make, but so far they've never really been less stressful.
Oh man, don't
So,
tell me that.
the smaller ones are easier. I do one for my martial arty type one. It's about samurais, called Tsukiyama no Kambujin, and I do that one only for a couple, like $1,000-ish. And
Okay,
so that one's pretty easy. That's pretty low stress. I only run it for about 2.5 weeks. So it's
okay,
just quick and easy and painless. But the Maiden in Disguise ones are always really big and always really stressful. But
yeah,
we might be live again in October too, so
yeah,
buddies.
definitely, definitely. Like I said, it's terrifying, man. Because I'm like, I
Mhm.
like I said, I pulled out everything, all the stops I could do, I could think of, reached out to all the people, and the people that responded, I was so surprised and I was so happy that they responded. Like I reached out to like a couple of UFC fighters,
Oh,
and they
nice.
responded and they like shared the campaign, and so I think that helped a little bit, and so
Mhm.
that was like
I
that
I
was
have a friend of mine who's actually doing an official comic with WWE, I
really
think.
wow,
Yeah, his name is Dirk Manning. He's a super nice guy, and
nice.
I don't know if maybe I could hook you guys up and
That would be
get
awesome.
a little cross promo there.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I am a pro wrestling fan, so that is I've recently gotten back into pro wrestling in the last like year or so. But yeah, I grew up as a pro wrestling fan and then stopped watching it after a while, and then like started watching more combat sports and stuff, and then got back into pro wrestling like recently. So yeah, it's kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I love I think I just love all forms of combat, real or otherwise. So
Mhm. I
that's kind of
agree. I
so.
I used to do kendo, so really anything
Really,
with a sword I'm really into.
may I ask you, how long have you been in Japan?
uh, just about 3 years coming this
Really
October,
cool. Are
August.
you like a
Yes.
teacher or?
My husband teaches English, yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
he's at the school all day, and I sit here.
Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't get out much. I stay in
Oh,
my box and I draw. 'Cause I do all the comic paneling and stuff, and it's
mhm.
oh boy, that's time consuming.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And
Mhm.
like working with the artists that I work with, I mean, it's really time consuming and like understanding the process now, as opposed to like when I started like really trying to get the first book done like 2 years ago. Um, yeah, it's a lot, you know what I mean? And it's crazy. I just been like I realized like I've actually been working on this book probably for like maybe 4 years, 4 or 5 years now. Like I've had the idea for at least 5 years, but like
Mhm.
I've been actively writing this story for like 4 years, and so, um, but yeah, in the last 2 years, we've actually been producing books and things like that, and like working with artists. I learn a lot. I learn a lot how to communicate with them and how to like communicate my ideas so they make sense on
Yeah.
page. You know what I mean? And like, my editor will always say like, "Hey, you think very cinematic, and sometimes you can't really do that. You have to think like this type of way with comics." And like,
Mhm.
yeah, so I have to sometimes dial it back a little bit, but
I'm the same way. I think super cinematic, and I even write screenplay format, and then I
yeah,
have to go through and butcher my script and be like, put this into this panel, please, because
yes, I do that.
Tsukiyama no Kambujin, I have a different artist for.
Yeah,
Thank
I do that.
goodness.
That was what happened with that's what happened with the first episode of Scrap. Like the first issue of Scrap is I thought that, oh, it's just gonna make sense because it's visual. And so I wrote like the first arc of Scrap is like originally in screenplay format. So there's like 18 screenplays that I have. And so um I realized that like giving an artist a screenplay is not the smartest idea.
Yeah.
And so I did that the first time around, and like the pages that he gave back to me was like, oh my god, what the crap, you know what I'm saying? So
Oh
I had to
no.
go back and readapt everything into I had to go back and readapt everything into like the comic format, and then give it to him. Be like, hey, every panel is this, it's this, and I had to break down and see that. And like I'm still in the process of translating like all of the episodes that I wrote in screenplay format of Scrap into um basically like the comic format. You know what I mean? I'm still in that process, and like I have to go artist by artist. Like I was working with these Brazilians for a while, and the language barrier was a
Mm.
bit much, but like we managed to get things done. We got 4 books done together,
Wow.
But like now that I have like an American artist, also thanks to the Kickstarter, I have an American artist. It's probably the communication is going to be a little bit easier, and we're going to be able to find out and fine tune some things and make things more, especially the humor moments. I think those moments are going to be a lot better, translated as
Yeah.
opposed to explaining like, hey, he has to have this facial expression because this. It'll be more implied this time. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
and plus I can get on the phone and be like, hey, I'm trying to do X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? So that'll be
Yeah, and like talk to them face to face.
exactly like I can call them and be like, hey, I want blah 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 blah, and not send an
Mhm.
email and be like, here's this photo of this, here's this photo of this, here's this photo of this. You know?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
what I do too. I make a Google Doc and I'm like, here's a million photos for inspiration for panel one.
exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy. So,
Yeah.
and like, how long have you been like writing like a lot of your comics? Like, how long have you been like just actively working on those?
Mm, not professionally. I started in high school, so somewhere around 10 years now.
Oh man,
And then
that's
my
cool.
my little cousin, he came over one day and he's like, draw me a guy with headphones. And we built an entire world around this guy and his headphones. And that is my planet Eoterra. And it's just kept growing since then.
Nice.
So.
That's awesome, man. Like I really, that's the other thing too, is I really love world building. So because world building is like, and I know that's the main focus of your show, but like world building is like, I could sit here and talk to you for hours for that, and we don't have time for that. You know what I mean? But
Right.
yeah, like I will say this quick thing about like Skrap. So I don't know if you're familiar with like the Gracie family or Gracie, like the Gracies at all or anything like that. So give you a little backstory on them. So the Gracies, in Japan, well, in Brazil, they're like kind of like you know, pretty much they created Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So so yeah, like long story short is like there was a guy from Japan who came over to Brazil, and this is like in the late 1800s. He taught a couple of guys jiu-jitsu, and then another guy, one of the business partners, his name was I want to say it was Carlos Gracie, but Carlos Gracie was a smaller guy, and him and his brother, like, or really it was his brother Helio. He was like, well, I can't do all these jiu-jitsu judo moves like standing because I'm small, so I'm gonna figure out how to do this stuff on the ground. And so that's how Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was born, like, you know, in like the 20s or whatever. Anyway, it becomes this big thing, this big martial art. The family's like basically royalty in Brazil or whatever. But long story short is in Skrap, I have a family that is the analog to the Gracies, because I don't want to use the Gracie name. But they're the analog to the Gracies, where I've created a 6th generation family tree of like from like, you know, late 1800s to like now, you know what I mean? And like you see like the lineage of like these Gracies are the ones that fight, these are the ones that don't fight. This one is a movie star in Brazil. This one, you know, they just teach. This one, like, he doesn't do anything. This, you know what I mean? And like it's this huge intricate like thing, and like so it's just like that lineage of type of world building or whatever, you know, is really kind of cool. But yeah,
that's a lot of fun too. Like that's some of my favorite stuff, is to just sit down and figure out all those like historical things that led up to something, even if nobody else will ever know about it.
And just real quick, I just want to show one last picture, and then I guess we'll get out of here, because I'm trying not to talk long, but I end up talking long, and I'm sorry.
It's all good. They typically run past 35 minutes anyway.
Okay. Where is it at? Oh, here he is. So, but yeah, this the girl with the bright colored gi in the center, that's Grace Neza, and Grace is like, what is she? She's 5th generation. Yeah, she's 5th generation of the Neza family. You know what I'm saying? And so she's like a fighter and stuff like that. But like you see like the Neza Combat Jiu-Jitsu logo in the background, like it's kind of a big thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, like I said, like it's weird how like in the story we do this whole thing where we have this reverence to it, where it's like, you know, you have to be part of this family lineage and this and this and all of this other stuff. Like the character that's next to her, that's Keenan Draco. He's part of there's a guy named Bobby Neza. He's like this legendary jiu-jitsu guy, and he created a team that he would take to all these competitions called the Bear's Claw. And basically it was like him and like 5 other legendary fighters, and they like won like every tournament in the world for like 10 years. You know what I'm saying? And so, but yeah, like he's like, you know, he's just one of these kind of chill type dudes or whatever. But you know, he's part of that lineage, because one of the things in jiu-jitsu, even in real life, is like they're like, hey, if you have a black belt, sometimes people will ask you like what your lineage is, and then like you can look back, you can kind of like certain black belts can like recall their lineage and be like, you know, there was obviously there's Helio, and then there's his son Hickson, and then like Lloyd Irvin, and then this guy, and then this guy, and then it gets to my teacher. You know what I'm saying? And so like you can recall that type of lineage. That's kind of a thing in jiu-jitsu. You know what I'm saying? So and
It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So
I've actually been wanting to learn a lot more about jiu-jitsu because I want to work a little bit of it into my next story. It's like my top secret project. It's not really about jiu-jitsu. It's just kind of like one of the characters is into it. So it's
now there's two different jiu-jitsu. So there's just like there's Japanese jiu-jitsu, which I myself don't know much about. But I know like a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu's origins are, obviously rooted in Japanese jiu-jitsu. But like Brazilian jiu-jitsu is super popular, obviously, like all over the world. So trying to find out more things about Japanese jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't know where you could cite things. I mean, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I mean, you could trip over something and find stuff about BJJ. You know what I mean? So
you'll just have to fly over and we'll go take a class somewhere together.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. I want to come to Japan anyway. So yeah. That would
hopefully soon it'll be open.
Yeah, no. I've been watching. I know you guys are going through a lot of different stuff there. So, and I follow a lot of Japanese fighters and obviously Japanese MMA, and so like I still see like so much of the pandemic stuff. You know what I mean? Over there right now. So I feel for you guys. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully soon, man. We haven't had anyone visit us in 3 years, and it's like, where's our family?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, but I don't know. I got nothing. I got nothing else after that.
All right. Well, perfect. That was a great show. I'm really glad you came on, and thank you so much to everybody who stopped by and watched. And a huge shout out to the Stranger Army, my patrons. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. And all of your links are in the description. So go support, find Juice Lee, Twitter, Instagram. I have your Kickstarter link on there if you happen to do backer kit or if you have pre-orders open. So if they can follow that to your pre-order page if you have one up later.
Okay.
And yeah.
Cool. That'd definitely be cool. So yeah, I don't want to think about anything other than sending out people rewards right now. I don't want to think about anything Kickstarter.
Take a few days off, man.
Yeah.
Celebrate.
Literally, campaign ended like it ended like 2 or 3 days ago, and I'm just like, I want to flush. I want to flush.
It's like give me a week, and then I'll be a human again.
Exactly. So, but thank you again. Thank you so much. So appreciate you. And I don't know. Follow the links. Please follow me. Pick up Skrap. All that stuff like that. So thank you.
Awesome. See you later.
Yeah.